I'd say there's a good 20% extra shine on the ping for
measured.
Me.
Joe measures shine. What's that measured in?
That's on the shinometer that comes in at Weebles. So that's got 27 Weebles of shine, and the ping had 35 Weebles of shine.
That's good. Hello, welcome back to an episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your company for another busy episode. My name is Dan, and as always, I'm joined by my friend, colleague, accompaniment,
Joe.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm really well, Dan. How are you?
Good. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? It definitely
Yes.
is, actually, because this is now the 20-something of January.
Happy Valentine's Day, probably. It'll be closer.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Thank you for that.
You probably don't celebrate that as a single Pringle, do you?
No, God, no. I go out and just get lashed instead.
Drown your sorrows.
Drown my sorrows. How have we got to this?
Don't know. Sorry.
Coming up this week on Kickpoint, Srixon, another launch. We've got a test. I guess it's tested this week, but a detailed look at the new Srixon range, which is blinking extensive, by the way. I've not seen it yet. This is my first impression as well as yours, and Joe's going to give us his full insights.
There's a lot of it.
And you can be any more expansive at this point?
Not yet, no.
Hopefully later.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's good. Keep the tease in.
Yeah.
We've also got an Ask the Pod, a very in-depth Ask the Pod from Harvey Norris, and we appreciate this, Harvey, because
Oh, Harvey.
the detail he went into, and we've requested this, we asked for this specifically. We've got pictures of his swing, we've got data, we've got club setup, and we're going to go and we're going to talk about some slower swing speed options. We are aware we speak a little bit heavily about 115 plus, 100-ish plus for me on a warm day, and not a lot of golfers swing at that. So we're going to do a little bit more slower stuff.
We're going to
slow it down. Start of the year, slow it down.
Take it easy.
So that's coming up later as well. But the bulk of it, Joe's going to be locked up by Srixon. Right, before we get into Srixon, Joe, another plea to the masses. If you're listening, hello, thank you for listening. Could you review us, please, on your podcast platform of choice? It really helps us grow, get seen. We've seen some of the lovely comments and reviews. We really appreciate if you've already done it. If you haven't already, do it. Joe, did you know... We're on YouTube now, by the way. Hello to all of those out there. 75% of the faithful viewership aren't subscribed. What's that all about?
I did know that because you mentioned that in the last episode.
Which was an hour ago.
Which was an hour ago.
But
yeah, it still doesn't make it any better.
No, still bad. It might change by the time. Anyway. So if you could subscribe, again, it really helps the channel grow. Just press the little button down there. So you got to do. We're sat here giving you all this content, and come on.
Won't change your life, but it could change ours.
Oh, wow. That's very powerful.
Thank you.
So yes, thank you for all of that. Sorry to be flagellating again in public. I've been told not to do that, but it really does help us out. Srixon. Now, I do not know anything about this because I've not seen the press release yet because we're a decent way ahead of embargo. Actually, no, we're not. There we are. And I've not hit them. So I'm with the viewer and the listener today. I'm just sitting back and listening to Joe the Pro over here.
I'm going to make you work.
I worked in the ping episode last week. I thought I worked quite hard.
Only because you love Travis, the ping man.
Travis the ping man. That's the ping man.
What is your brand perception of Srixon? What do you think of when you hear Srixon within the golf industry?
Underrated
is
the first word I hear because I hear a lot of people like your good self, other great club reviewers who always just say, they're great quality clubs, but because they don't perhaps shout as much as some of the other brands, they don't have as much tour presence as some of the other brands, you don't think about them as much. They're not in what I would call the big 4.5.
The elite bracket.
The big 4.5.
Just
the
looking in.
Ping, Callaway TaylorMade, Titleist, Cobra as the 0.5. Sorry, Cobra.
Well, I wonder whether this could be the year based on the quality of what I'm about to show you, because there's not much I'm not very impressed with.
The year they
range.
break through, the sort of the breakthrough season. It's a bit patronising to a brand as
well, it is a bit
decorated as
patronising,
Srixon.
and I don't know that it's. I don't think that it's been a quality thing in the past. I think maybe it is more what you're alluding to, that the marketing budget or the shouting, whatever it. I don't know how possible it is to break into that.
Because they've made good clubs for a long time. This isn't the first time they've made good clubs. Spoiler alert for what's about to come. And so there's nothing that will make this breakthrough any more or less than the other product have.
They've won multiple majors. You've got your Hidekis, your Shane Lowrys. There's people. There is good tour presence there. I just don't know what they have to do.
I've never hit a Srixon club in my entire life. So when I used to work at a big box store in the UK, there was no left-handed Srixon gear as demo, so I never hit it. I've hit Cleveland wedges. Obviously, they come under the same umbrella, so I get a rough idea what they're all about. But yeah, I've never even hit one. And I've always heard great things about the irons. The woods, ambivalent toward generally previous ones. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about this, Joe.
Right. Well, the range is called ZXi. Now, that's indicative of the time we're in. And if in doubt, chuck an eye on something.
Do you think, I was thinking this on the car on the way down today, do you think that'll age the product? Like, just because it's like, you've got AI paradigm from last year. I'm thinking like that's just going to stick out when AI eventually attacks us all and runs the gaff. It's going to age terribly, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a bad look. I just think it's like when early electric cars always whack an E in front of it.
The iPhone's done all right, though, isn't it? The
That's a fair
iPad,
point.
they're doing okay.
Yeah, but they were the first ones, weren't they? Now everyone's like, oh, sugar, we haven't put an eye in that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a bit like, oh, AI. Is AI anything in this?
Marginally.
So why have they whacked an eye on it?
Well, because of eye forging and eye flex.
Of course, eye forging.
But before we get to that, let's explain the range. We've got 3 drivers. So we've got the ZXi, the ZXi LS, and the ZXi Max. So fairly standard offering. So we've got the mid-range, the low spin, and we've got the sort of high MOI, more forgiving one. We've got 1 fairway wood and 1 hybrid. So only the 1 model in each of those.
1 fairway wood?
So, yeah. So that's, varying lofts, not just the 1 loft. but they've kept it quite concise.
They just made 1.
Just down there, yeah. So if you've got that one, we'd love to hear how it went. They've also got the ZXi utility iron. You sort of preempted that.
I was waiting for that.
No, not the ZXi.
No, it is the ZXi.
Yeah, it is the ZXi, but it's not you. It's the utility iron. And we've got 3 irons. We've got the ZXi4, which is a more game improvement one. The ZXi5, which is kind of a powerful, compact-ish player's distance iron. And the ZXi7, which is your low handicap player's cavity. It's quite an extensive range.
It's cute. This is mega. I know they got 1 fairway wood, but that iron selection is quite a lot at once, but we'll find out about it.
We'll come back to that, but we're going to start with driver. So another eye flex. So basically the tech involved in the driver is they've completely redesigned that face with like a variable thickness pattern in order to optimize energy transfer for efficiency at strike. You're trying to see it, Dan. If you're trying to see it, I think you're going to have a little bit of bother because it's obviously internal.
No, I'm interested by these 3 perforations on the face.
Okay, making some noises, some ASMR there. What perforations?
There's 3 holes here. Look,
hole. COR testing. Don't worry about that. We'll get to that another time.
I'm sorry.
So basically what they've done, there's a thin centre of the face and then it's thicker behind the heel and toe. So it's engineered at that variable thickness to help you maintain ball speeds across the face. They've also used an all-new titanium called TI72S. What are you laughing at?
Just the vigour in which you released the word titanium from your mouth was quite amusing.
Stronger, lighter, and more durable. So you can't go wrong with that, can you? So starting with the looks, I'm going to talk about the whole range here because interestingly...
Is it all the same? Oh,
well, look at those heads. From the top, from the bottom, from everywhere. I think this is maybe the first time I've seen this. It seems to me...
Could you pass me the other one? Sorry, we'll bring pictures up for those watching on YouTube. See if we're looking for... We talk about the sole here, Joe.
Well, it seems to me they've used the entirely same chassis or body for every single one of their driver models there. And all they've done is shifted around where the weight ports are centralized because when you put them down in the playing position, they're all the exact same shape and dimensions.
Is it?
The sole's exactly the same. There's so much about these heads, the 3 heads that are utterly identical. So it very much looks like to me that the same body or chassis has been used throughout and just that weight port has been moved to create what needs to be created, i.e. the Max is going to have some more rear weighting to bring that MOI back and increase forgiveness and stability. The LS has some weights at the front there. Can you see the LS version?
Got him, Miss Jones.
So you've got the weights at the front and back there. Mm-hmm. And then the standard version, the ZXi, has split weights at the back there.
Split weights at the back, 10 and 4 gram.
So yes, it's an interesting...
What do you think of that? What do you think of that? I've never seen anything quite like that where, like you said, they've just basically taken, it's like the way they make electric cars these days. They take the bottom bit of it, I guess the chassis, and just dump a different top on it each time for a different look of a car.
Yeah, I can't see... It seems very efficient and economical from a manufacturing standpoint, and I quite like it visually that if you're a Max player and you need the additional forgiveness, you're not sacrificing anything in the profile or the shape or the size, which sometimes you do in some models. And again, I talk a lot about sort of patronizing less able players or less competent players with huge, great whopping footprints or comical graphic, not comical, but
Comical.
there's that sort of patronising element. But what you got here is whether you're going to be an LS player and he wants lower spin and sort of more penetrating ball flight and less requirement for forgiveness, you're going to be looking down on the same thing as someone in the standard model or someone in the max model, which I really like. And like I said, from an economics point of view, it makes really good sense, I think.
Beautiful. Really, really pretty, isn't it? I love, let's stick to the sole for the minute. Love this big black bar that runs through it. It's very futuristic. And you did have a go at Ping last week.
I knew you were
being a bit shiny.
that.
And that, to me, where's the Ping? He's in the bag, isn't he, the Ping? No, she's not under there.
Oh, it's under that head cover.
Oh, don't worry about it. That is almost exactly the same. If you put Ping in there, it's not far from G4, which you had a little dig at last week.
But if you look at the Ping again, the Ping continues a lot heavier with that shiny bit around the toe and the heel. I'd say there's a good 20% extra shine on the Ping. For
measured. Joe measures shine. What's that measured in?
That's on the shinometer that comes in at Weebles. So that's got 27 Weebles of shine, and the Ping had 35 Weebles of shine. But good. This is complemented by, I would say, a more subtle colour scheme. There's quite a lot of blue on the Ping, which I didn't massively enjoy. The logo on the Ping. Why have you brought this into Ping bashing?
Because this looks like a Ping and you bashed it and now you're giving it large.
Well, the logo on the Ping, on the sole of the Ping, is pretty huge and sits amongst that shiny area, which actually ups the effective Weebles by another 10 because you're adding shine on shine there.
10 Weebles for extra shine on shine?
Shine on shine
You're
is
joking me.
Massive. So that's gone up significantly on the shinometer. So yeah, and surrounding this, he's got a lovely matte finish, minimal branding, a little Srixon on the toe.
It's really pretty, Joe. I do agree.
I just think it's a really understated.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, futuristic.
Classy,
especially the Max. Let me look at because the Max has no weights in the shiny bit. It really emphasizes that space. Obviously, the weight ports in the LS and they're above on the standard model, which is fine. Yeah, I really, really like it. And let's talk about the address position.
So yeah, this is one of the few drivers.
What's this sort of textured finish on top? Almost like a Mitsubishi logo.
Yeah, so there's been a little bit of a change of crown. So they've added some texture here. So
right, Rob, aren't you?
Yeah, for those of you into the ASMR there. So one of the things that I didn't like about the previous model was you see the strip at the front that isn't dimply.
Yes.
That was the whole crown of the previous model.
Flat.
So the second you got a hint of moisture or you touched it, it would smudge up something chronic. And I know that doesn't affect the performance.
You don't want to see smudges.
But you don't want to see smudges. And you could, I mean, if you're talking on the smudgeometer, no, I won't.
Let's not. I'll just about handle Weebles before I cut the cameras entirely.
But you couldn't wipe this stuff off, no matter how much moisture you got on it and how microfiber towel it was. It was really frustrating. And now, just from a pure aesthetics point of view, now things have changed a little bit in the tech to facilitate this, but just from a pure aesthetics, just giving it that little bit of texture.
Gives the eye something different to look at as well.
And when it, move it around a little bit, Dan. Change the orientation. You can see it sort of, the light glares off it a little, shines off it in different areas. I think it looks extremely premium. Not only that, the banner strip around the perimeter of the crown, you'll see is now black. That used to be white.
Was that a bit keen for you, was it?
It was just a bit fussy and unnecessary. I'm not a big fan of the banner strips on drivers. So this is one of the few drivers that has been released that from both points of view, the in behind the ball and the sole point of view, I think looks really good from both. That's one of the few. Some of them were compromising one way or t'other, aren't they? Funnily enough, I felt the Cobra looked better from underneath than the top. I felt the Ping looked better from address than the underneath. And I think this, like I said, satisfies both of those things for me.
Really am enjoying the look of that Max. That's going to scratch to Foxtrot, isn't it?
It could do,
which is fine.
Your attack angle. But yeah, I think classy and premium are the words that really stuck out there for me. And like I said, I just really enjoyed the fact that it does seem to be that same chassis with just the weight ports moved about. Because pretty much that's all you need to do to influence the spin and launch of a driver is move that MOI into the areas, move that CG into the areas it needs to be to change the MOI and the center of gravity position. So yeah, I like it. Performance-wise, strong and solid are the adjectives I've gone with there.
They are adjectives.
It is a little clangier in sound than some others on the clangometer. No,
Steady.
Let's leave all this. Let's stop that right there.
I would like the shinometer and Weebles to maintain part of the parlance, though.
Yeah, we can do that.
I did enjoy that.
Absolutely fine.
So where does it, genuinely, seriously, where does it sit on the acoustic meter? Because
I'd say of the
ones
major
spoken about so
manufacturers,
far,
of your Cobras, your Callaways, your Ping, Titleist, whoever, it's the loudest.
Is it?
It's an all titanium construction, and I think Titleist were one of the few that were remaining as an all titanium construction before they introduced their new sort of thermo-forged carbon crown that they've introduced in GT. But yeah, Srixon have maintained an all titanium construction. Just by its very nature, it's just a little bit louder and a tiny, tiny bit tinnier. But I actually love it because I haven't necessarily in the past, but I think sometimes you can get too much of a good thing, can't you? We sort of went away in my area of sort of development with drivers. We went into your Callaway Big Berthas, then your Great Big Bertha Titanium, then your biggest Big Berthas, then
bigger than loud, I can't believe it's not Big Bertha.
I can't believe it's not Big Bertha. And there were these, it was almost a competition to see who could make the highest pitch screech at the range in the team. And then it went the other way. And then we went into the carbon wood era with TaylorMade, and things dull and thuddy became fashionable. And it's just harks back to an era of when I grew up with a slightly more robust sound. And I actually really like it. I didn't love it last year. I thought it was just a bit too much. But it's a little bit more subdued this year. And it's really, really nice sounding driver.
And it's good to have something that's a bit different for people to choose from, because some people who want to feel like they're generating loads of power are helped by a louder, more high pitched noise. So that might suit someone like that.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. I like having different options there. In terms of performance, it's just extremely consistent is what I put in my reviews. It's you know exactly what you're going to get. It's a bit like my dad. I'm just making this up on the spot. But I remember saying, someone was asking me about my dad years ago. And what I loved about my dad is that I could tell you now where he is. When I was at school, I said, what would your dad be doing? He'd be watching the racing. I knew, you just know what you're going to get.
A man of routine.
Man of routine, you know what you're going to get. No surprises.
Right.
And that's what you get here. It just delivers what it should. It's really consistent data. It does the same thing time and time again. Every time I hit a shot and it looked up expecting to see a window and a flight, I saw it. Relatively forgiving. I wouldn't say it's the most forgiving driver on the market. I'm talking across the board here. Obviously, it does differ a little bit between the models. But if we take the ZXi, the mid-range, for example.
Is it just called ZXi, that mid-range?
Yeah, they haven't called
Core.
it Core or Max or anything like that, but we'll call it Core. I think that'll be an extremely good driver in a lot of hands. Those who want, I'll wrap it up a little bit better in a minute, but that just covers everything. It's got ample forgiveness, ample ball speed, nice neutral bias. You can flick the bias around a little bit if you like. Plenty of adjustability on the hosel, all wrapped up in a nice, neat package. Fantastic. The LS does the same sort of job. It just drops the spin by 150 to 200 revs, so it's a little bit punchier.
Which is a nice drop, a clear drop.
Clear drop, yeah. And again, still operates with ample levels of forgiveness. And I would say it's just probably one of the neatest ranges I've ever seen. Like I say, from the cohesive looks that all complement one another because they're basically identical, into the steps in spin and launch. They're just exactly where they should be. Are they
clear? We praised Cobra at the end of last year.
Yeah, clear and consistent. So the Max for me went up pretty much exactly the same spin as the LS went down. So you've got really clear and constant definition. It just does exactly what it's supposed to do. Feels nice, looks nice, and just produces good, consistent numbers. No surprises, no anomalies, which you do still get from time to time in a range. I just think it's one of the most efficient and smart driver ranges I've ever seen. I just think it's one for the sort of the connoisseur. It's a real thinking golfer's product. If you just want
a discerning golfer,
yeah, who doesn't want to scream, I've got the new latest. What I was going to insert a brand there or whatever, who's not overtly shouty about what they're doing. You've just got a beautifully crafted, great piece of engineering that will provide you all the results you need, no more, no less, and looks fantastic.
We'll see you next week on Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. That's Srixon, don't you? Really interested, Joe. And again, we spoke about Ping last week, and that they are, you call them donkeys in a really not disparaging way, in a very positive way.
Correct, yeah.
This feels similar, and that Srixon I don't know a lot about Srixon as
similar,
a brand.
but I would say with a a more mysterious twist.
They are mysterious, aren't they,
Yeah, you don't
Srixon?
quite know who's made it.
Who's doing all that?
Yeah, you don't know what. Yeah, there is a bit of mystery to the brand. It's like Hideki's got that sort of mystery about him, hasn't he? He's like maybe because of the language barrier, because I don't think he speaks Eddie very
Speaks
little.
English, but I don't think he's confident enough to do it in interviews.
So you don't
and
quite
stuff.
get an insight into the personality of him. I don't think you quite get an insight into the personality of Srixon. It's just
we don't know, like as journalists, a lot of these brands, I got to go to Ping, you went to Callaway, that they don't do it quite as vivaciously as these other brands. So we don't quite have the window that we've had some other brands. And that's why as back to my first comment, the question you asked me, I don't really know a lot about them, but again, I know maybe they make good golf clubs.
Yeah, but perhaps that's one of the reasons they don't leap into that elite bracket of the top 3, 4, 4.5, as you described it, brands that are making drivers. But from a pure data and quantifiable performance point of view, I can honestly say probably this is the first time that driver's 100% stacked up against anything else on the market.
Yeah.
It didn't stand out as the longest, but everything's so tight now. I mean, we're talking 2-3 yards in carry away from what I found to be the longest 2 drivers that I tested this launch season.
So would you say in previous launches that Srixon's like, it's just sat an inch below the big 4.5, whereas now you're saying it's just gone and it's right up against them.
The last iteration for me, so the ZX7, ZX5 and the LS versions as well, I felt quantifiably they weren't quite as good as some of the other product. I felt you were giving up potentially 5 or 6 yards with the ball speed readings that I used to get with them. And again, I can only talk about what I found. Some other people with different deliveries and whatever else might see different, but I can only talk. I felt I was giving up 5, 6, even 7 yards, which is, border half a club, which over the course of a season can make a difference. So that was a quantifiable thing that I felt we were giving up. I also felt this is the sort of the ZX5 and 7 Mark II models again I'm talking about here. I felt we were giving up, and again, I have to be anecdotal here, a little bit of forgiveness. I didn't find them very user-friendly. If you were on, great, they would perform nicely, but you had to be on for me. But that's improved. I found this whole range user-friendly. Ball speed's picked up a little bit for me. The looks are better than they've ever been. And I just think if you're undecided about what you want to get and you just want to try something a little bit different.
And as you said, the discerning golfer, I like that. Can I spring something on you that I probably should have asked you before we record?
Please do, Dan.
RRP?
Oh.
Yeah, just because we haven't actually spoken about this with all the other clubs, and
bear with me, corner.
Probably remiss of us to not spoke about the RRP.
Yeah, we don't do much in that.
I don't like it because it costs what it costs, and if you like it, you're going to go and get it. That's what I personally think.
I don't think it sits far away from
because your Cobras came in at 469. This is in pounds sterling, so I feel like for it to really stand out, though, the Srixon's going to have a 4 in front of it.
I've
done about as much filling as I can possibly do,
so
Joe.
I'm scrolling
before
to the
I start doing
drivers.
Harry Hill impressions.
UK prices 549 in pounds.
I feel like they just need to be 50 quid less to really be spoken about. Despite what you've just said, that's just a personal. It might come down to that. But then,
if we're going into pricing again, do you get the people like me that look down on a Cobra and worry that, why isn't that as expensive as the rest?
This is good stuff, we're going to price it as such.
And it really is. The materials are great.
This is why I don't like RRP chats, because it's above our pay grade, quite frankly.
It is a little bit.
It doesn't make the golf club any better or worse. But really interesting, Joe. Again, my first impressions were today. Let us know what you think down in the comments. You can comment on YouTube or even on your podcast platforms. No, just Spotify. But let us know what you think. Are you a discerning golfer? Would you like to try something a bit different?
What do you want to chat about now? Fairways?
Well, yeah, so Sam Diath, our colleague, tests fairways and hybrids. So we're not going to go into major detail because we don't want to give you information that we don't have, but you would have spoken to Sam. And what did he have to say?
Well, let's go through Sam's thoughts. So fairways just the ZXi. So
simple, clean, bang.
He started with spectacular, which is an interesting one, but we were sort of mocking it. But
wait, he said spectacular.
He did say the word spectacular. And he said, hang on, maybe that's a bit much. But he thinks it's really good. He thinks, much like me, he thinks Srixon's been a bit of a sleeper brand, and this could really be the breakthrough year for them. Same as in the driver, looks really premium from both angles. It's got a stepped crown, so like the leading edge, the leading edge is a little bit raised and there's a little bit stepped down. So that may divide
could hurt.
opinion.
That could hurt
which would
it.
be a shame because
we'll bring the image up of that for those watching over on YouTube.
Yeah, because obviously the driver doesn't have that, and we've spoken about how much we love the look of that driver. Really lively. It's a bit louder and high pitched, much like the driver, but again, that's sort of that all titanium construction that will generally achieve that. But he can forgive that because of the real high quality performance. And Sam himself, as the fairway tester from Golf Monthly, gets everything, and he's been looking around for a while. I know he's had this in the bag the last couple of times he's played golf.
And he's a very good golfer. What's he off now?
Sam's a +3 guy, isn't he? He's a proper
golfer, yeah. Okay, interesting. Same story with the hybrid, I'm guessing.
Hybrid, he basically said copy and paste. The small compact head might lean it more towards a better player or the connoisseur or the thinking man's golf.
The connoisseur.
It's not much of a, it's quite a, it's a neat black finish, quite compact, that doesn't scream, I can hit this anywhere. This is super forgiving. It's just neat, tidy, stealthy, and probably will suit the eye of a better ball striker a little bit better. Performance, excellent. And he just loves how cohesive the whole lineup is in terms of its visual. So, yeah, I think good news from both the fairways and hybrid, although you won't like the stepped crown of the fairway, as you've said.
No, I'm not a stepped crown guy. Again, I mentioned this last week, but if you're joining us for the first time, hello. Neither of us test fairways or hybrids. The last thing we want to do is go into lots of detail about something we don't know about. So I know we've glossed over it. If you really want to know about those fairways and hybrids, down in the description, Sam Diath's full written review, all the data's down in there for you to get stuck into.
But what I do test is irons. So should we get into that?
And you are very excited about these. And because you're excited, I'm excited.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the utility and get into the main sets? Or do you want to start the main sets and then get into the utility iron?
Oh, man.
Up to you.
Terrible decision making. Because we've been working down the bag, let's start with the ZIU.
Well, the ZXi me?
The ZXi. And this is my first look at it. I've not even looked at it yet.
Come on, what's your thoughts?
Shiny.
It is shiny.
That's incredibly shiny.
Yes.
Pretty though. Let me poke it behind with the ball. I'm left-handed, so it's a bit awkward. I put
shiny and pretty, and that's why we don't let Dan near the club reviews, everybody.
And fat. Shiny, pretty, and fat.
Where's she fat?
She's fat at the back end there, look.
Yeah, but we've got something to talk to you about her fat back end. I'll talk to you about her fat back end in a minute. Because there's something.
And what about the club?
There's something very much you need to know. So first off, as well as being fat, she's hot. So it is very quick off the face. This. So the design, it's exceptional. I can't think of a better feeling utility iron. And that's going to be the theme of what I talk about with the irons, the feel of what they've created.
Describe it if you can. It's tough with feel. I know.
It is. I'm bad with this, aren't I? But I quite liked your use of crispy in the ping episode. It's crispy, but with a hint of zing. It springs off the face. The ball seems to melt in and explode off. So it's got a crispy melt in, but it explodes off with a real liveliness. And boy, oh boy, does it produce some ball speed. It is... As a utility iron, it's launchier than some. So like the Callaway Apex, is that a word?
I was going to...
Looked at me like it wasn't a word.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you mid-flow, but I was just going to say not a word.
It provides more launch than some of the others. So like the Callaway Apex UT, that's like a stinger machine. That just flat and hard. The TaylorMade P7 90, the TaylorMade UDI, again, pretty aggressive. This has got a touch more launch to it, which I like about it, although... really versatile. The 2, they say the 2 and the 4. So the 2 is 18 degrees and the 4 I think was 23. What I loved about this 2 iron is that just a default shot would have a nice high launch, tons of yardage. I was flying this thing about 255.
All right, ball strike.
You're welcome. Sorry, Travis from Ping. Don't always hit the heel. Those of you from last episode, what I'm talking about.
That's last week's reference.
But yeah, the knockdown shot I found really, really easy with it. Although we'll get to this. I'm going to explain the fat back in a minute, and you're going to like it. The
you can't make me like anything.
So while I said is a little bit launchier than some, the 4 iron as well, I could really hit a good moon ball with that 4 iron. So if you're someone who struggles to launch your longer irons, the 4 and even the 3 within this, with the right shaft for you, will do a really good job of just popping this ball up in the air with some significant ball speed. One other thing I love about this is the first time they've used their Tour VT soles. You can see
I hadn't noticed
cambering
that.
on the sole. So
good turf interaction.
The Tour VT sole, and I've spoken to a lot of engineers from other companies, might be one of the features that they're most envious of from other manufacturers. Absolutely, it's so brilliantly designed and it's so versatile. So it's basically just it's got a peak in the middle if you want a
Pictures on YouTube always.
Yeah, if you want to have it described rather than
Sorry, we've got people listening, haven't we?
So you've got a raised ridge in the middle, falls off. There's a little bit of additional bounce at the front, a bit of a trailing edge relief at the back, and it's traditionally reserved for the irons. But they've put it into the utility iron for the first time, which I didn't notice as much in the 2 because the 2 I was hitting more off the tee, and when I'm hitting off the deck, it's more of a sweep, so there's less turf interaction. But particularly with the 4 iron, I think it really improved the turf interaction. I think that's a really nice addition. The mirrored back.
What's going on? Because again, we'll put some images up because I have not seen a back like that.
For some time. So my bugbear with a lot of these utility irons is what you've just picked up on. When you put them down in the address position, behind the top edge, you can often see a bit of a protrusion from the flange, from the back edge. From the back edge sticking out at the back, and you can see that, and that is inevitable in some reasons because they want to have a wide sole because they want to move that CG low to help you get the ball up in the air. So they need some substance down the bottom end, which usually results in a relatively wide sole. And when you're dealing with less loft, you can't actually see it much in the 4 iron. Because obviously the face is
because that's 18
back,
degrees.
Because this is 18
angling
degrees,
that way.
Correct. There is a bit that sticks out the back. Now, 100% this is more protruding than the last model.
It looks to me, and this is probably deeply offensive.
I'm looking forward to this.
Great way to start a sentence. Like those hybrid irons that Wilson, or was it Cleveland that did them?
Yeah.
It looks like a hybrid iron thing. That was it. It was like an iron face with a big old...
I agree, and I put this down next to the one from last year, and it's more. However, what is brilliant, but you can't pick up on it here
because we're not outside.
Look at the shine on that. Right? That's the highest. It's basically like a mirror.
See my future in there.
They've made, and it's not bright, and they've made the flanges so reflective. When you put that down on the ground and you're testing it out in the grass, all it does is reflect grass back on. So all you can see in
that's clever
on baby's back, all you can see is grass, just green. You cannot see that protrusion whatsoever. And you might think, oh, of course I can. I still know it's a reflection, and I thought that as well, but it doesn't. It just looks like you've got that top edge, and it looks like straight after that it stops in the grass. It's genius. I don't know.
I know I can't see it here because we're in a studio, but
I don't know whether once it dulls down.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If I can try and block that out,
if
mentally,
you were getting grass reflecting onto that.
Is it not going to affect my face? No, my face isn't there.
No, it's not angled that way down.
Science.
Okay,
yeah,
honestly,
so they've seen the size of it and gone, because it wasn't as reflective last year, was it? Didn't have to be.
It didn't have to be, but it was still. That's a theme they've continued. But I know you don't. But
I need to go out and see it outside.
You do need to go and see that outside.
Should I nip outside the office?
It's so clever.
In a business park, just sort of wandering around with this.
Winner's Triangle.
I'll get nicked in Winner's Triangle.
But I just really like it as a. It's something
it's going to divide opinion, that I reckon.
I think it might, but it's something they obviously didn't want to compromise on the engineering and designing of the club head to get, because they need that CG load to get the launch and get the pop that it needs to have.
And it works.
And it really
You're
works.
quite effusive about that.
I love the product.
Okay.
I would be lying if I said I didn't marginally prefer last year's profile, but I still really like how cleverly they've disguised that back. I think it's really, really cool. And you, like I said, you can't see it until you could probably put it on your fleece and see it a little bit, but because that's quite greeny. But don't worry about that.
My turquoise fleece from last week.
We'll do that another time. So yeah, really, really good. Plenty of options of lofts in there, and I think that will combo particularly well with the next time that I'll talk about.
Great segue.
ZXi7.
That's this bad boy.
That one. So you picked that up straight away, and you love the look of that, didn't you?
I do really like this.
Well, I need to get straight off the bat here. This might be my iron of the year so far.
Wow.
It is currently...
Pictures up there. Which angle do you want people to see it from first?
Any angle.
Oh, get any angle.
There's not a bad angle for this one.
Oh, I can wall up at once.
So...
That's a lot of work.
This is currently fighting it out for a place in my boat. So within one session of testing it out,
really nice,
I messaged the guys at Srixon and said, look, I know you've sent me I think it was the 4, 6, 8 and wedge maybe. So I'm going to need the odd numbers here. I need to fill this set in because these are great. Any chance you can hook me up? And they've been kind enough to provide the rest or en route. And along with the P7 CB from TaylorMade, currently fighting it out for.
Is this where this iron sits? Is this where this iron sits?
Just very much a a compact player's cavity iron. So the better player, so low, anything from, so you're
Compare it to other things again, yeah.
TaylorMade P7CB, Titleist T100,
Okay.
Callaway,
I know what world we're in now.
Apex CB,
I know what world we're in now.
that kind of stuff. This will be the iron that the bulk of their tour staff will be using, and I saw Sepp Straka go straight into it at the Century. It's not a massive shift from where the ZX7 Mark II was in terms of the visuals, but the feel is significantly enhanced for me.
And you said the feel is going to be the main story running through this.
Honestly, yes. They've taken a brilliant product that they already had, Srixon the ZX7 and the ZX7 Mark II, much like G430, LST, or other products, TaylorMade QI10, big favourite of the non-contracted players, and that's always a really good indication of a high quality products. They've taken that and they've made it better. The feel is the most notable thing. They've done a lot of work with using softer steels. Just the whole thing is brilliant. The sole,
so it's the same. What do they call it again?
Tor VT sole.
Tor
So
VT,
it's quite pronounced, isn't it? You can really see the topography.
It's so pronounced, and again, we'll show this for people watching, but I'll try and describe it. It's so pronounced, this ridge in the middle of the sole, that they can't put the number of the iron through the middle of it. So
they've had
to pick a side. So it's a bit boss-eyed. Which eye should I look at? Which is fine. It's beside the point, isn't it? But it's so different to any other iron, which that number 6 there would and should be centralized. It should, but would be centralized in most places.
One eye in heaven, the other one in Devon. I just think from a testing point of view as well, I'm talking from the back could be argued there might be better looking irons on the market. Well, I don't necessarily love
agree.
Within the cavity.
I love within the cavity this it's like a matte, it's got a texture on it. That's the first thing I spotted, actually.
We're very opposite with these things. That's one of the things I didn't love.
Is it?
Yeah, but we do differ on our aesthetic opinions.
And that's why we get on so well.
Wonderful team, isn't it? But yeah, so I'd argue there's potentially some better looking irons from the rear position, but it's far from a bad looking iron from that position. It's really, really nice. But down behind the ball, the dimensions to me are just perfect. The blade length isn't too stubby, which sometimes when you're going into this sort of better player category, people are trying to squeeze it as neat and compact as possible to really appeal to that better player.
So it's not too short.
It's not too short. They've just created a nice balance of having it short enough to look playery, but still having enough blade length to give you some confidence. Tiny bit of offset, but not too much. Everything's just so balanced about it. There's nothing, like I said, the blade length to me is the perfect middle ground. The offset is the perfect middle ground. It's not onset in any way. It's not people chasing this zero offset, not people chasing the thinnest top line. It's just a really beautifully balanced profile, and the feel is just exquisite. It's soft, it's sturdy, the spin rates are so consistent. I've just not really got enough good things to say about the ZXi7. It's got an eye in it.
That's fine.
What do you think about that?
We spoke about that, didn't we? But listen, that is, as you said, it's probably the best praise you've given an iron on the show yet. What was your iron of the year last year? Because what went in the bag was that TaylorMade? You just mentioned it.
P7CB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's having a ding-dong battle with that, is it?
Currently is, yeah. I'd be interested to put them head-to-head, get some more data, because
let's do that one episode.
Well, let's do it, yeah. Anecdotally, I can't really split them. They both feel great. There's a really interesting feel with that P7CB that I love. Shaping's great. It might purely just come down to which is better looking sort of competition.
Would you rather, we've spoken about the discerning sort of more different golfer who'd like a Srixon in the bag. Ooh. Do you want to be that guy who's like, yeah, I play Srixon irons, no big deal, whatever?
Yeah, you think I'm getting a bit... I've got mates like that, particularly mate Elliot. He'll be listening. He loves to be different, and
I'll give a set of these.
Maybe he'll be that guy. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting. I'm looking forward.
We'll do a head-to-head for that. Well, again, another pin for the. I've got a pin board. I never use it, so put a pin in that. I can't remember what I put a pin in last week. So let's move ourselves up the handicap spectrum here into what have we got?
ZXi5. So again, excellent. I don't know many players that wouldn't get on with this. It's got such a broad appeal. So
sorry to help me get what world are we in here compared to
we're into kind of more the player's distance. So I'll sit this alongside a Mizuno Pro 245, a TaylorMade P770, some things of that
things
nature.
Like that.
But again, from the back there, when I put that on, for those of you listening, I'm putting it next to the the ZXi7 for Dan. There's not much in it, is there?
No, that the texture of that bit I really liked on the 7's different.
Yeah, which
slightly
I prefer.
more, which you probably prefer. Otherwise, a bit of black around the mainframe technology, which I'm guessing isn't in the 7.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell the difference, Joe.
Correct.
Can't tell the difference,
There's not
mate,
much
which
in
is
it,
not
so
bad
again,
for a jump up like that.
Which is, again, something I think Srixon have done really well throughout this range, created that cohesion. So those people who want to combo sets aren't going to have any difficulty doing so. I'm just looking at them both in the playing profile position now. There's just no tricks with Srixon. There's nothing that doesn't look like it should be there. We've got probably 2% more offset on the ZXi5. I haven't got an offset scale.
Got a scale for us.
We've probably got a couple of mil extra blade length and a marginally thicker top line. So we're just going up the usability scale in terms of all of those. And yeah, it's got a bit more pop to it. It's really punchy. It's stronger in loft. So I think the 7 iron in the ZX5 comes in at 31 degrees. So it's in that stronger realm.
Side, isn't it?
There's 28s and 20. There's some monster ones. So it's on that stronger sides. But yeah, so basically it's been condensed forged, which means specific areas have been strengthened to fine tune the performance. So very specific targeted areas of the steel have been provided with some extra structure and strength. And that added support has allowed some softer materials to be used in the head because it's got some of those strengthened areas. You can use a softer base steel, which provides, again, just unbelievable feel. So for those of you looking for something with a bit of punch, sometimes you have to compromise that feel. Sometimes you get that. Some of those hollow-bodied, filled players' distance irons can feel a bit harsh or a bit clicky or a bit zoomy. This just feels... I'd sit this alongside the Mizuno JPX 925 forged as something that feels very different to how it performs. This feels as good as that ZXi7. Soft, syrupy, feels like just a forged high quality iron, which it is, but it just packs the punch of something that that doesn't.
It's got a bit of a bigger swing than the 7. For
exactly.
If you're talking punches,
it's
got a bigger reach. Maybe
it's got a bigger
like
reach potentially. Yeah, and it's interesting sometimes as a club tester. I like to think I know what I'm doing, and
so do I.
And I like to think I know what I get from a feel point of view. And sometimes you strike a shot, and you within a millisecond, I can go, okay, I know what that's done.
Yeah.
Not necessarily towed it, but I mean, even if I flushed it, and you're being mean, weren't you? And you said I healed it. But even within a millisecond, even if I flushed it, I could give you probably a fairly accurate representation of what the carry distance might be, the spin rate. I could give you fairly accurate, swift rundown of that. But irons like the ZX5, the ZXi5 here, and the Mizuno JPX forged, they throw you off because you hit them and think, I've got a little soft forged, lovely, okay, that'll be 175. And then you look up and it's gone 190.
So it's telling you one thing with your hands, with the balls actually doing something entirely different.
Exactly. So you just get, I love that. You get in that sort of, what's the right word? That lovely, sophisticated feel, but you get in that really assisted performance. Yeah. It's a lovely, lovely blend. And I think loads of people are going to absolutely love that, right down to some, the very lowest of players. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few of those
comboed.
I would imagine.
Or would you just go 7 through the bag if you are in 7?
I think, I mean, the press release, funnily enough, they state that they feel like the ZXi7 will combo better with the ZXi the utility. Not again.
Sorry.
The utility irons.
I'm going to do that every time. I understand.
At the top end of the bag. Whereas the ZXi5, they feel from the loft point of view, will combo better with the ZXi4 that we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
However, I still do feel you'll probably see a few of the Srixon staff players maybe chuck in that 4 or 5 iron, 3, 4 or 5 iron, in fact, in the ZX5s if they're 7 players, just to get that bit more pop and that bit more oomph at the top end of the bag. I just think it does everything it's supposed to do.
Is that the best feeling in that category?
It's tight. It's probably between that and that Mizuno JPX 925 Forge that I've spoken about.
We've not spoken about on the pod yet.
We've not spoken about the pod that I spoke about 2 sentences ago.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. You made it sound like you spoke about it in some sort of general way.
I didn't make
You
it
just
sound like
mentioned
anything. You took it one way.
We've not mentioned that yet, but I'll put a link in the description. You can read Joe's review. Maybe we'll mention it
because that is very
is that
impressive.
a good iron as well?
But that for irons in that category, if you're someone who wants that additional punch, that additional distance, and you want a bit of a boost, but you don't want to compromise, you sort of, maybe you're getting older and you've used forged clubs that feel really soft for years. You want that bit of an extra assistance, but you don't want to compromise on that feel. That's a good space for you to live in between those two.
That's recommended by Joe the Pro. Right, finally, Joe, last few minutes on Srixon. I've just picked up the 5 again.
ZXi4, the game improvement model.
Can I say one thing about the numbering here?
Go on.
Why have they gone to 4? 4, 5, 7? That makes sense. But
well, that's been the way for quite a while with Srixon.
Yeah, but what if you're not paying attention to Srixon's numbering system and you're just entering golf for the first time, Joe? It doesn't make any sense. They should all be odd numbers.
What would you call it? The Srixon easy, medium, and hard?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
3, 5, 7. Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? Just numbers, mate.
Crikey, that doesn't make me. Yeah, you're right.
It's fine. It's the one thing I can comment on is names. It's as far as my brain will go. So we're back again. We're up the spectrum here.
We're up the spectrum in every sense of the word. Game improvement model. So we've got a 2-piece hollow construction, essentially. 2 different steels. So the main body is, I guess, a slightly firmer steel, and then the soft. They introduced a much softer one for the face cup area. So it's got a longer blade length, thickish top line, and decent offset. But I just think it's disguised superbly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that behind the ball, it's disguised superbly as to what it is, and again, that back cavity is gorgeous.
Yeah, I haven't got as much to say on this. I mean, I've tested it well. It produces really good numbers. It goes absolutely.
I bet it goes miles. For
yeah,
you.
it really does. It's got a big beefy muscle in the cavity, but I just think. From a sophistication point of view, looks-wise, I'd say I still probably would give it to the Callaway Elite in this game improvement category.
Because this is a out-and-out game improvement iron, isn't it?
Yeah, so that sits alongside that. I'd probably give the Callaway Elite just the edge in terms of visually. We were swooning over that,
I would as well.
But I think it's a great-looking iron for this. And again, my bugbear about sort of patronising higher handicap players. This is very sophisticated.
There's none of that
the finish
there. Because
is
it's
great.
so cohesive with what is, the clubs down the
Minimal,
range.
no brash colours, just lovely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's got that Tour VT sole, which again is something I loved about the Callaway Elite iron, is they paid attention to the sole and the detailing there to help with turf interaction, which I still think is really, really important at the game improvement level. And holistically, taking away the looks, I think this feels better than the Callaway Elite iron. So I'd give the Elite. I don't know how this has turned into a head-to-head, but
it's fun. It's all good, informative stuff.
The Elite looks better for me. This is a very close second in terms of its looks. It feels a lot better than Elite. It's softer, it's springier. They produce similar numbers in terms of performance, so it's pretty tight between the two of them. But these comfortably so far would be my favourite 2 game improvement irons in here. But I would just say, on the whole, it's probably the most sophisticated overall, holistically within this category. Not just necessarily the look. It's like that one mate we've all got that dresses smart, maybe wears a cravat out or something like that every
but
now
they can pull it off.
Yeah, reads philosophy, listens to political podcasts.
Yeah,
just got something
got a great family, nice house.
Something a bit classy about him.
But it's not shouty about the car.
No.
Or his family, they just get on.
Yeah, we'll offer you a lift, but don't say, come and have a lift in my whatever.
We'll have a lift. It happens to be nice.
Understated, but really, really strong. Just an excellent range for Srixon.
What again? This is genuine. We've not even spoken about this before. I just said, Joe, just give it me live. And what's a resounding success?
One of the few ranges where I would comfortably play. I mean, I don't really deal with the wedges, but those new Cleveland wedges look
the
very clean as well.
Oh my god,
RT
they look Z. Yeah. They look clean. AF.
AF, indeed. Yeah, it's one of the few where I would be really comfortable if someone said you've got to play every single club from this brand, which if we're chucking Cleveland in with Srixon here, I'd be very comfortable with that right now. Driver, fairway, solid. I'd go in those ZXi.
Me?
No, you.
Who
and the ZXi7s from there. I think a brilliant overall range. I don't know what you have to do to break into that big.
But if this isn't it, for Srixon, if they don't suddenly become like not that they're going to become one of the big 4.5, but if people don't start talking about them more after delivering a range of clubs for so many people like this, they're in big trouble. Maybe they have to accept they're a fifth, sixth, seventh brand in the space.
Yeah, one of the few years I could look you in the eye and tell you that everything within that range could stack up against anything else. Everything.
Ball as well. Our boss who's tested
yeah.
the Srixon suites quite effusively about them. Yeah. Listen, let us know what you think about Srixon, because you've heard our opinions. Do you not rate them for some reason? If so, why? Let us know down in those comments, because we want to hear from you, get an idea of what people are feeling out there about Srixon, and go and test them by all accounts, please, if you're in the market this year. Because that's as glowing as you've been across the board about something.
Impressed.
Very good. Right. Oh. It's the end. Control the end of the show, Joe. That was a bit weird.
Is it the end of the show?
We got 10 minutes or 15 if we're feeling bold. And it's time for our favourite part of the show. Ask the pod. Boom. You ready? Remember this?
I'm ready.
Ask the pod. Ask the pod. Ask the pod. Ask the pod. Boom.
Great work, Gordy. First time on the ones and twos there.
On the ones and twos. The dream team's in today producing this masterpiece, and that was perfect. And that's the Ask the Pod jingle. If you're still with us, thank you. So as I said at the top, Joe, this week it's come in from, again, I've got it ready, Harvey Norris, who, Joe, as I can't find the email, gave us the most information we've ever had on the show. So thank you for that. Because
well done, Harvey. Yes, this is
we
helpful.
asked for it, because there's a couple of questions that have come in that we can't quite give the answer we need to, because we need swing speed data or look at your swing or a bit more information about your setup. So Harvey, thank you. Joe, his question is, which is love the show. Thank you. I like it when people start with that.
Yeah,
been binge watching since I discovered you guys a week ago. Binge that's like Netflix.
I like that.
I like that as well. As a 60-year-old golfer with a driver swing speed of 88 miles an hour at a ball speed of 128, do I have many options on shafts and heads? Am I restricted to light 40 to 60 gram shafts and heads, such as Titleist TSR1, which launch high? All the info I tend to hear is on 95 mile an hour plus. Would be good to have some focus on us slow speed older guys. Joe, can you do a segment on 85 mile an hour golfers? And when we speak about this, Joe, we actually tried to look up what the average driver swing speed is, and it was early 90s.
Oh, yeah, I think 93 was what AI came up with, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you're a little bit below average there, Harvey. But looking at, he's given us, what was the data he gave us, Joe? This one here, what would you call that? Like the efficiency?
Yes, that was that's TrackMan's Club Optimizer. So basically, you can pop your data in when you're using TrackMan, flick on the optimizers, and it will give you all the parameters that are available of spin, launch angle, ball speed, whatever. And it will give you an indication of whether you're low in a certain area, whether you need to increase that to get to your optimal range based on your input. And the stuff that Harvey sent through would suggest he's pretty well optimized across the board there. When it's in an optimal area with TrackMan, it will go blue. And across the board there, he's in optimal launch conditions, which is like good news, but also bad news.
It's good but bad, because I think Harvey maybe got in touch saying, I want a bit more. Am I limited to just these options? Can I move on? Again, gave us his full club specs through, Joe. Big tick from me, left-hander, Harvey. Welcome, well, not welcome to the club. You've always been in the club, but it's good to have another member of the club here listening to Kickpoint. TSR1, 12 degree, D4, Mitsubishi MMT, Speedbash 40.
This was a very...
Length, 0.5, minus 3/4 of an inch. We'll come and talk about that in a minute. And a Golf Pride Tour Velvet grip. I think, Joe, we should attack first his question, am I restricted to light 40 to 60 gram shafts and heads such as TSR1? Have you already answered that in so much as saying we think Harvey's pretty much optimized here for his swing speed?
No, simply because he's optimized for the input that he's got there. But there's nothing to suggest that he couldn't produce more input. He can't... From the speed
the input
he's putting
being
into...
the 88 mile an hour, we
Correct.
could go up.
Yeah. So every time you say 88 miles per hour, those of you who've watched Back to the Future will know what I'm talking about.
I've never watched Back to the Future.
Dan missed that era, but there you go. And I can see Johnny, producer, looking very blankly at the back there.
Tell me about it.
Back to the Future. Have you not seen Michael J. Fox?
I know its existence, yeah, but what's the 88 mile an hour mean?
Well, the DeLorean that was the time machine car had to get up to 88 miles an hour to activate the flex capacitor, which made time travel possible, which when you crash land in the Wild Wild West and you run out of petrol, difficult to get that car up to 88 miles per hour. So they had to use
Is that the plot of the film?
Yeah. So how are they going to do that? So they had to hook it up to a stick. Anyway, don't worry about that. So that's what I think.
So is Harvey activating the flex capacitor every time he swings at a roughly 88 miles?
Short of a flex capacitor, Harvey, there's stuff we can do, I think. So
go on.
Yeah, we need to, essentially you are optimized for the input you're creating, but if you can create more input, your output is likely to go up. But how do you increase your input? We need more club head speed. So
should we go to a full, should we go to a standard length driver for TSR1? Should we get an extra 3/4 inch on there, or make my strike pattern stuff a henceforth?
Once again here, unfortunately, I mean, as much detail as he's given us, which is great, these still images and the launch monitor data only mean so much until you see someone move it and you see the way their body's moving. And I'm really thankful. I think I saw something on our Kickpoint socials that he's booked in at Precision Golf now.
Yes, he is.
I saw a message. I think I saw that come through. So I think
that might be somebody else.
That would be really... Was it?
It could have been him.
Could have been you. Might not have been Harvey.
Drowning in 4 emails. Mixing up our 4 listeners.
But... well, if you are, great. If you're not, I think you're not always restricted weight-wise. So lack of speed can come about for a couple of reasons for me. So sometimes it can become because of lack of strength. So you see that a lot with junior golfers when they're growing up. They just don't have the strength to move the club very quickly. Mm-hmm. They've got plenty of mobility and flexibility to put it in the positions that they want, but you still need an element of strength to be able to drag that club through. But what I see more prevalently in older golfers is more a lack of mobility, which can create that strength. So when you're dealing with I've always thought when you're dealing with a lack of speed that comes from strength, that can only be really addressed with weight, because obviously if you're lacking strength, it's difficult to move something heavier. However, if you're lacking speed because you're maybe more advanced in years. Harvey did say his age, didn't he?
60.
60. Yeah.
So great age,
fantastic age. But there's a chance that he might be less mobile than he was when he was 20. So you don't have to address that, in my opinion, with weight. There's ways of potentially increasing your swing speed without that. Arguably, sometimes you can go heavier, change some swing weights, change some balance points to help momentum and time it up with your particular movement. You could arguably go longer in driver, depending on where you are from a base level point of view, create some additional width that will help you move that club quicker.
And he's a 12 handicap golfer, so I'd suggest he's a decent striker of a ball. So maybe that extra length isn't going to cause his strike to move all over the place.
No,
he might benefit from that.
And again, I mean, from a delivery point of view, we looked at Harvey and you could see from his setup, ball a long way forward, pegged up quite a lot, shoulders leaning back, and his launch data on the TrackMan, I think he was about 5 to 6 degrees up on
4.6.
Yeah, so he's already getting sort of good. That sort of translates in that optimal launch monitor data, high launch, low spin. So it is just simply a case of, can he get more club head speed out of it? So short of Pilates classes and yoga to increase your mobility, which you might already be doing.
Bit of stretching, never.
Yeah,
unless it hurts, which it will.
There is potential to try out a longer driver. We've spoken about ball as well. So you mentioned he's playing a Pro V1 left dash, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's more. I'm a 12 handicap, playing at Fox Hills. He played Fox Hills before.
Yeah, several times.
Is it good?
Yeah, very good. 2 courses, long cross and something else.
He plays the Pro V1 X left dash, and he's thinking about trying out the Wilson Staff X. Now, you and me both sort of perked up when he said that. We're thinking, no, that's
I'd be interesting
not an
to
optimal
see.
ball.
Not necessarily. I mean, I would suggest maybe you're not possessing the speed to compress that enough to get the best out of it. I'm not saying it's a bad ball choice. It's still just a really premium ball, very consistent, will spin nicely, and do what it.
But aren't they firm low spin?
They are. It is very low
spin
spin on tightness. So potentially you could try and. But it's still in the optimal TrackMan stuff.
That's
don't
true,
forget.
isn't
But I'm talking more from a compression point of view. You need to compress some of these premier balls, these premium balls, well to get the benefit out of them. So something maybe with a slightly softer compression might end up sneaking a mile an hour or two more. We're going to talk minutiae here because that's where we're going to get other stuff more generically, maybe away from Harvey's stuff. There's ways you can potentially, if you are struggling for swing speed, adding loft can be a benefit. So people think taking loft down. My dad in particular, I remember having a conversation with him, I'll hit this further because it's 8 degrees. It's like, no, Dad, you won't, because your swing speed's
It's like a lot of these. It's like a lot of these HL iron builds that people are going to way more benefit slower swing golfers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Up in the air,
and you think, right, I've got more loft here, so this is going to go shorter, but actually gives it more air time, creates more spin, stays in the air longer for certain stuff. So it's. I'm sorry I've waffled around this, Harvey, but for you, I would concentrate on See if you can get any more mobile, because you've got to just increase that input. What you're doing from a delivery point of view and from an equipment point of view to an extent looks all right to me. I would certainly potentially experiment with a softer compression ball, test that out on TrackMan, which you've got there, see if you've seen any ball speed gains with that. And yeah, I would experiment again with shaft length. If you can find something in the pro shop or something to borrow, it doesn't have to be a perfect fit, but
just something to give you a rough idea.
See if you can move something. If you're going up to a maximum of 46 inches, for example, or I think that's a local rule actually on the PGA, you could even go longer, but just maximizing that length to help you increase that width. Centrifugal force, help it move a little bit quicker, could be beneficial. The best way of doing this, but if you are the one of the four that we said that has
someone was booked into precision, yeah,
that will be a really good move, because you'll be able to really help to provide the right weight and swing weights and balance points to sequence up your timing much better and get the most out of what you do. But essentially,
I don't think he's far off though already.
He's not.
And to be fair, his question was, am I restricted to X and Y? He's not, but what he might be not restricted to, but what you might be in Harvey is the right build for you right now.
Potentially, yeah, you could unfortunately just already be maxed out. But the weight thing's an interesting one when we talk about heads, because he's talking about TSR1 he was talking about there, so much lighter head weight, which again, people say, right, okay, that's lighter so you can swing it quicker. But there's the flip side of that, which a friend of mine, Paul, is always very interested in, about the energy transfer from there. So obviously, if you're trying to nail into this wall with a piece of spaghetti, you might be able to move that spaghetti really quick because it's light. But that energy from that spaghetti is not going to move that nail very well, is it? Whereas if you do a hammer but slower, got more mass behind it, it's going to produce more power. So where is the point of diminishing returns for I'm going to go lighter in head so I can move it quicker? But are you getting the most out of that in transition into ball when you're transferring that energy into the ball? Is there a point of diminishing returns? I'd love to know about it, because to me, if you're looking to maximize your efficiency in terms of distance, if we're talking about that hammer and nail analogy, you might want to just go with the maximum head weight you can possibly still move at the same speed. Because if you can move it at the same speed, but there's more mass behind it, there's likely to be more energy transfer, is my thoughts, without getting too scientific.
No, I think it's worth an experiment.
Where that point of diminishing returns is, because my friend Paul, very good player, he's always looking for more distance, and he went down the school of thought that, right, I'm just going to go light in everything. He bought lighter grips. So he bought these special light Golf Pride grips, about 25 grams instead of 50. Lightest shaft he could find, stripping the weights off the head, and he could move it really, really quickly. And he
at that
still
stage,
feels,
you might as well be using a bit of spaghetti by the sound of it. You know what I mean?
There wasn't much left in it. So he felt
take you a while, wouldn't it?
Purely by stripping all that weight, you can move it quicker. So that's going to make you hit it further. And TBD, really.
Is it? It's not quite there. Because it's almost like, I think the point you said there, it's like, what's the heaviest head that Harvey, as an example, could swing at 88 mile an hour, and then that surely would have better returns than the TSR1 at 88 mile an hour.
You would think
but
so.
But can he swing anything heavier at 88 mile an hour? Everything might slow down.
So
therefore, you're in.
So this is what he needs to test. And if he could, in theory, if he could go up 3/4 of an inch in driver shaft length and cope with 8 grams more weight, you might
there's
be
a few
something
more yards. There's a club. I think if there's 5 yards, there's a club. Listen, Harvey, it sounds like you've got a lot of work to do.
Sorry, I couldn't give you the magic wand here, but that's the thing.
But you've given him the right.
Ideas.
We're not going to give people the magic wand. We're going to give them the correct avenue to walk down and some ideas. That's all we are. We're just chatting away, coming up with ideas.
Love it.
Good work, Joe. Thank you very much, Harvey. Appreciate that that message and the detail. And if you would like a question answered, just like that, with so much detail, do email us kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com.
Harvey was a bit more upfront than Jan from last week with his 2 names and his concealed identity.
Mysterious Jan.
Harvey, not only did he give us his proper name, he didn't stop much short of giving us blood type and a DNA sample. That was
do
beautifully
not send DNA
Harvey.
samples to kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com.
Absolutely
just
not.
questions. We don't take parcels. That's it, Joe. I'm trying out Srixon, I guess, by the sound of it. That's this week's lesson, I guess, isn't it? So that about wraps us up. Again, if you're listening, review us if you can on your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate that. If you're watching us on YouTube and haven't subscribed yet, please whack that subscribe button. It just takes a second and it really, really helps us out. And I'm not going to be boring as to why. It just does, doesn't it?
Really does.
That's it, Joe. We'll be back again next week. And next week, I can plug a very exciting episode. We're back to normal. It's like, when Christmas is over and you're out of your routine. And some people just say when they get back,
House is a
it's
mess."
just good to be back. It's a bit of normality, isn't it? By like mid-Jan, like, it's just nice to be in my routine. We're back in routine next week. We've got tested this week with some Wilson product and some Mizuno product. We've got an Ask the Pod with jingle and a What's in the Bag and a guest, no less. Ludwig Aubert has joined us, one of the bigger PGA Tour names we've had. Yeah, top 5 golfer.
Had a little chat
on
with
our
him.
podcast. You chatted with him.
A little chat with him. What's in the bag? It's going to be. It's a tricky one, isn't it? 'Cause there's going to be elements of it that are a touch out of date because it's back end of last year.
It's by the by. It's how these things work, isn't it?
Yeah, so there'll be a couple of clubs that have moved on since then, but you'll still get to hear him chat and
About his setup and stuff like that, whether the specifics have changed or not. Who knows by this point? So that's all to come next week. Joe, thank you very much.
More than welcome.
Well done.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed. Hope you subscribe. Hope you continue to listen. Lots of hope. We're back next week, won't we, Joe?
We will.
See ya.